Welcome to Alpha Wolf's Den. It's here that we seek enlightenment. Alpha Wolf Trading recognizes that the most successful companies in the world at one point had no earnings. There's a lot more to a company than just its earnings report. That's why here at Alpha Wolf's Den, we interview executive teams. We want to get to know management. We want to understand the vision, the mission, the strategic drivers, the plan. We want to separate fact from fluff. This is not a paid for promotion interview. This is solely wanting to know the company's vision, mission, their critical success factors, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and the threats. We want to know the long-term objective and the tactical initiatives that leadership plans to implement to achieve success. We want to know about the company's debt, the cap structure, what it's going to take for them to become self-sustaining and stop burning through cash. We want to know management's previous failures, challenges, hurdles, how they overcame them, or what they learned that they can apply in their current role. We're trying to identify the risk and the reward. And oftentimes, it's strong leadership that makes the difference between success and failure. Here at Alpha Wolf Trading, we are looking for the hidden gems. And I hope you enjoy this interview because this is one of those companies that I think could be a hidden gem. Please understand that this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. Any investment that you decide to make in any security should be based upon your own due diligence and opinion. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you, and this is a very exciting interview for me here today. I have the CEO and the president of LiveOne, which was LiveXLive, LiveX. Now the ticker symbol is LVO. And Rob, Dermot, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey,
Thanks, Tim.
All right, so listen, you know, I've got your station, actually my stations through Slacker, which when you took over was losing a boatload of money, correct?
Well, $178 million to be exact. Yeah, it was spent over a 15-year period, but part of that was building the amazing technology that was behind it. And that's the reason we bought that technology. And we bought it with this amazing technology team out of San Diego, right? That Qualcomm world, right? Who had proven they could build one of the only 10 mousetraps in the world, right? The rest of them were all $1 billion plus, right? They built one of those 10. When we saw that, we said, green light, this would be a great opportunity to pick off a tech team, pick off some great partners like Tesla, and expand upon that and grow it. And, you know, fortunately, we've grown it from 20 million, losing $20 million and losing 25,000 subscribers to now proudly on its way to $50 million plus, extraordinarily profitable. And we've just announced this morning 1.35 million paying subscribers.
I was going to get to that next. I want everybody that's watching to understand that when I get involved with the company, yes, I own the stock, but I am also a consumer of the product, right? I test everything out because I want to see if it's deserving of me being an investor, right? I'm wearing the social gloves, which turn, very good, high quality sweatshirt, right? Wearing this, the event itself that I paid for. Listen, I got to tell you, I've had other events that I paid for that were not nearly as entertaining as those. And I did not think, I don't know any of those kids. And I didn't think it was going to be a very good event to watch because I'm thinking none of these kids know how to box. But I got to tell you, man, worth every freaking penny, right? I had a whole group of people over here and we loved it. We loved the event. So even though that turned out to be kind of a shit show, the stream was awesome. The in-between entertainment was fantastic. And the fights themselves are great, right?
Well, let me add to that, Tim, for you.
Yeah.
All right. So 136,000 pay-per-views paid for, over $10 million in revenues, millions of dollars of profits. NFTs launched for the first time. And it was the first time that LiveOne can showcase that we are one of the great producers of live content, streaming the content, pay-per-view the content, selling NFTs, selling merchandise, and proving that full flywheel. And so we couldn't be prouder of the event. And, it's been settled now, right? There was some trauma around it and that we didn't own the IP. And there was a lot of promises made and commitments made in dollars to it. But it's turned out to be a spectacular event. And you're going to see a lot more of it. And it's a learning curve, right? For Dermot and I, we walked away from it and said, that's one of the greatest things in both of our careers we've ever created, produced, and distributed. But we know now we have to own the IP. So stay tuned. You're going to see the next event coming imminently. And you're going to see us owning that IP and expanding on it by adding cable and satellite and paid marketing and the things that conventionally have always worked, right, in pay-per-view. We're going to add those to the fold. And I think it'll be bigger than and better than any of the events that we've done so far.
Listen, let's just go back to the social gloves thing. And it did kind of turn into a disaster with Austin. But, you said something in an interview that really resonated and stuck with me, even though you had this, let's just real quickly. When Austin came to you guys, he didn't have an event. He had no place to do the event, right? He was going to be doing it at the MGM. They pulled out, right?
I mean, he was about to pay $675,000 the MGM if it even happened and if he could get the approvals. And Dermot, I'll hand the baton to him. Dermot pulled a rabbit, right? Literally pulled a rabbit.
Dermot, where'd the rabbit come from?
The deep and dark place, but you know where it came from? One of the assets that we bring, you talk about companies and you talk about strategies. Rob and I have been doing this for a long time, and the management team we just have relationships that go deep and wide, and people trust us, and they trust when we say something. You hung out for us a little bit, Tim. We hit it off. You see the type of guys we are, right? You buy a t-shirt off me and Rob, and it's going to be good quality. And we pulled in a relationship that we've had for a very long time with Hard Rock, Barclays Center, lifelong friendships and partnerships. And they know we produce good work, and they went to bat for us. To add to what Rob said, I've been doing this for a very long time and working on a lot of other people events. And I learned it's really hard to do anything new. It really is hard to do anything new. And when you do it and you do it well, you realize you're lucky and you realize you're going to capitalize. And every great company in this space was built on creating new IP, whether it's MTV or ESPN or Netflix or HBO. And that's what we did. And that's the hardest thing. There's plenty of other easier things we could have done, but we swing for the fences, and it's not always pretty. It's not always easy. There's long days on this road, but when you hit it big, and we're going to do more of them. And we just showed our capabilities. Another thing about this company is damn that we punch above our weight, just to stay in the boxing thing. We punch above our weight. We fight fights we shouldn't even be in. Here's this little company wandering into an NFL stadium, putting the world of music and boxing to shame. Are you kidding me, man? Let's go.
And Dermot's being humble in this and that. When I say he pulled a rabbit, man, he pulled a $2 million rabbit. I've never seen this. I started a pay-per-view, and I've done a lot of fun things in my life. I signed the first ever. I did the Uno Mas fight, right? It turned out to be the No Mas fight, and I signed Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, right? I've done a lot of these, right? 30 years of it. I've never seen a stadium put up the money up front, but they were so smart about it because they saw a vision that we brought 250 million followers amongst these kids. We had 3.5 billion impressions. And Tim, what I could tell you is that if he was listening, I would say to Austin, man, if you've grown up and you learn, man, I'd go back in the ring with you, because as much as the mistakes were, right, and now that it's all settled, right, it really was a brilliant concept, right? The concept was brilliant, right? It just had to be taken in the right context. If he had
that statement right there is the statement that I heard you say before, that you, even though there was this conflict, would work with him again. He's a young kid. He made a mistake. He made some poor calls, poor choices, right? But you're not going to hold that against him if he called you and said, hey, man, let's do it right this time. Because you did try to get him to do cable, and you tried to get him to do more than just streaming, right? He didn't want to do that. He wanted to do it his way. And maybe someday down the road, that might be the right way to go. It isn't the right way now. Guys my age don't want to mess with, and I did it, hooking up my TV to I don't want to deal with that. I just want to hit a button and turn it on, right? I mean, if I got to do all that, forget it.
What he also did? He got lucky, right? When he hit on, and Paul Kaiser, right, who was his partner at the time, is a brilliant guy at the CAA, brought us into the fold. When he brought us in, right, he knew we could produce Rock and Rio from Brazil, right? If you could produce 7 days of the biggest music festival in the world, all of a sudden you give someone 4 weeks. There's very few companies on earth that could have gotten this done. And Dermot's produced some of the biggest shows, from MTV to VMAs to so on, right? This wasn't hard. It was exciting, right? And the only thing he's got to learn is, listen, when I was in my 20s, man, I made plenty of mistakes. When I was in my 30s, I made plenty of mistakes. When I was in my 40s, I made plenty of mistakes. And now in my 50s, I'm learning every day. I'm still making some mistakes. But when you come out of mistakes, you grow and you learn and you try to get better, right? And you try to do that for your children, but you also try to do it for your business every day. We learn every day, right? Dermot and I go back and forth, and, we learn from the experiences. And so, I'd love seeing young kids. I'd love to see them make a comeback. It would be awesome.
And as you said, the fight was really good, man. I watched down those fights, and I'm a big boxing fan. And those fights had more heart and energy than a lot of professional bouts.
I totally agree with you.
Anybody, like I literally grew up boxing. I challenge anybody to not enjoy those fights. They were good fights because their hearts were in it. And I will hand one thing to Austin. He fought his heart out, and I give him that. Man. He fought well. And here's the thing. When you do something first, you have an advantage because you have the learning. And to this date, Tim, not one other company has done it the way we did it. So we have that advantage. Now it's on us to drive.
Listen, you had more than one first. You had the NFT, right? Prior, I mean, there was a couple of firsts there. It wasn't just the event itself. You guys are very forward thinking, right? And you're not afraid, like you said, to swing. You're not go for the fences. Maybe it doesn't work. Okay, that's fine. Give it another whirl, right? I mean, that's...
Here you go, Tim. You just hit exactly the next point. Watch the next one, because you're going to see it in the metaverse, right? I've always told everyone, Dermot and I shot the first ever 2 festivals in history in VR, right? We shot Back to the Beach and we shot Rolling Loud in VR with Samsung and Oculus, right? I've always said short form content is the winner. Give me 3 minutes of social media, right? In the metaverse, man, we may not drive 3.5 billion impressions. We may take those numbers to a whole nother level. So you're going to see us always be innovative in technology. You're going to see us ahead of the curve, right? And you're going to see us do, amazing things. And don't be surprised if we create a league out of this, right? That little moment that we experienced that night, that Saturday night, that didn't walk away, right? It walked away with a couple of headaches, but also walked away with some of the most exciting moments. We put a music festival and a boxing match together in a social environment. And we always told everyone, we're not looking to turn these kids into the next Mayweather. We're not looking to turn them into the next McGregor. I don't even believe they'll ever be able to do that. But what I do 100% believe that WrestleMania meets Disney for this is a it's a golden ticket. Let's make this fun and energetic. We're all coming off of, 2 years of COVID, right? A lot of ways, right?
There are so many other ways that you could do events such as that. It doesn't have to be boxing where somebody's going to get hurt. There's all kinds of different, the 3-ball, the tournament you guys just did not long ago, right? The
Baller Fest.
yes.
Olympic basketball, right? 20 some odd teams, right? Competing from around the world with a music festival, right? You're going to keep seeing us do that. You're going to see, as we do Spring Awakening this year, this will be the first time you ever see a uniquely social experience in the middle of the event. And no one's going to know it's coming. And they're going to go, wow, these guys, at least we're testing. We may not always be right. We're going to test, we're going to test fate every time we go in the ring. And we go in the ring. I go in the ring every time.
So listen,
just one note.
Yeah, go ahead, Dermot.
Important to just underscore, for any investors listening to this, what makes us special, right? And you can read the tail of the tape on any given day, and that'll tell you one thing. But we're a bet, and I've never worked with a company that can produce those type of events and have a second to none technology platform. Never one. Not Viacom, not AOL. Not cable, but they could all do one or the other. They couldn't do both. And that's, I still challenge you to come up with any company. Maybe the Netflixes of the world are figuring it out. But the truth is, we can produce an event that not just is great, that can appeal to you, Tim, doesn't know any of the names, and my, my 14-year-old daughter, but that never goes down. Our streams don't go down. We start a pay-per-view business with our platform, and it started overnight and built it ourselves. We have 2 more products coming on our own platform that I reviewed today that Rob will be announcing soon. So this idea where you can go in, change the world of live events, and also have a platform that can support you, very unique. And then, and obviously a management team who know a lot of people, but very unique combo, very unique. And one of the reasons I love being here.
Listen, the other day, or a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, the movie, the Monster, what it was, a Monster something movie that you guys, right? I mean, that was something I never even would have thought of, right? I mean, but you guys were streaming the movie, right?
Once you prove you have pay-per-view, right? Because we had to prove we can make it, right? When I bought Slacker Radio, right, the first time when I first came public, I told the street, I go, this technology team could build anything. And they said, why? I said, this is my bet that if you could build for a moving car and you could get Elon Musk to choose you as a technology of choice of every single Tesla car for 9 years now, just extended for 10. If you could do that, I believe you can do video, right? I believe you can do live. And then I believe you could do pay-per-view. I can tell you, if our tech team is listening right now, Dermot and I have been in the trenches. I've been cursed out by my own tech team. They've told me to go after myself so many times because I'm like, hey, listen, we got 5 weeks to build a pay-per-view platform that works and is going to hold up for 1 million people, right? And listen, this held up for 136,000 people. Here's a little dirty secret. About 125 of those bought their pay-per-view minutes before the last 2 fights. That's unheard of. It's been done by cable and satellite because they got 50 years of history of doing it, right? It hasn't been done digitally and hasn't held up, right? And so they did an amazing job. And, that gives us the ability now. When you talk about Monster X, I always had the vision. When I started my pay-per-view business called Independent Entertainment, was 36 years ago. And I signed Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Long story, we won't go into today, but the stock went to $1 billion valuation, right? We were always talking about, could we convince Disney, Warner to do a movie in pay-per-view? Here we are today, 37 years later, right? Blockbuster's out of business, right? Netflix took over the world, and Apple, you can buy in pay-per-view, right? And now on this little tiny company, LiveOne, you can buy pay-per-view. You could be sure there'll be movies, there'll be documentaries, there'll be all kinds of storytelling, award shows, and we're going to put more and more behind the paywall, right? The next thing you'll see behind the paywall is the first ever music festival, right? I'm going to make this up for a second. Rock in Rio sells 1 million tickets. 86 million people watched it last year, right? I've always said when ESPN started, they created a brand new revenue stream for the sports industry. We created a brand new revenue stream for the entire music industry. If you did a pay-per-view event, and out of the 86 million people, If 1 million paid 10% of what a ticket costs to a concert, you've just added 15 to $20 million of revenues. What does that do? That money flows into the hands of talent first, their managers, their agents, their record labels, their publishers, and we create brand new revenue streams. And that's what I built this on. I built this was going to be the ESPN of music, and that we were going to create a brand new revenue stream for an entire industry and become that authentic voice across music and social media.
So this is a point I really want to highlight, Rob. So one of the things that I love about you, and I will bring up the underdog thing. You look, there are people that I think thrive on seeing people that are successful, trying to pull them down for some reason. That seems to be a big thing, right? But here's what I know about you. Everything that you've gotten involved with, that Digital Turbine, Mandalay, the movie 300, right? Some of these things, 300 was like a disaster. You came in, you funded it, and it turned out to be a cult classic, one of my favorite movies, right? Digital Turbine, I owned at 80 cents. It went to 100, right? It may take some time, but you keep swinging, you keep fighting, and eventually you come out on top. That's my perception of Rob. I'm looking at the company. I was looking at filings from 2019 on Benzinga Pro. I think for the second quarter in 2019, you reported 9 million in revs. At that time, you were a live event company. That's 2019. 2020, we got COVID. Any other company or any other live event company that gets faced with something like COVID, I would say odds are they're not even going to be around come 2021, let alone grow. So look at 2019, and I look at where you are now. You just reported this morning, which happens to be pretty darn good timing, but you're looking at 120 to 140 million in revs next year. You're going to do 112, 113 for this year. That's a pretty goddamn good trick for a live event company that had no live events in 2020.
Yeah, we lost all of our live business, $20 million of revenues. We lost all of our partners in live, right, for 18-month period, right? But, I went through this in Digital Turbine in 2008. I had this fantastic growing company that had three legs of the stool that was missing one of them, which we have, which is original program, but it was on fire. We had a $600 million valuation, and we woke up in 2008 when the market crashed, and all of a sudden, my debt holder, who had $37 million in debt, who was my closest friend and thanked me for doing exactly what we did with Slacker, we did with Digital Turbine. We took their business losing $20 million a year, and we turned it into hugely profitable. And they turned on us because it was their only profitable business. And what did we do? And I mean, this is total humble pie. I have $18.5 million invested in this company, right? In that company, I had a lot of money invested, and all of a sudden, I'm facing my debt partners, but they left out of the equation that I had a contract with them that I could buy them at 50 cents on the dollar, and I get all my equity back. So what I did, Tim, was I went to my partner, Peter Gruber, one of the smartest guys in media, and the two of us, we went into the bunkers, and we said, what we got to do? Let's put $18.5 million in escrow, and we'll buy them out at 50 cents on the dollar, and we'll get a third of our company back. I don't know anybody else who wrote a check in October 2018, but we went to the mat. We'll always go to the mat. We're here for the distance. This is the biggest and most exciting business I've ever built. And the greatest part of it, and having Dermot next to me, who's already built these businesses. He already built MTV Digital and VH1 Digital. Having him next to me, and he sold AOL $4.5 billion, right? We smile and go, all right, it's a tough day. But the reality is we've been through a lot of tough days, right? This is hard work. This is public venture capital. We got to be humble. We got to be modest. We got to fight hard. We got to kick hard. We got a really resilient team. We just took $15 million of costs out of the business as we consolidated the 8 companies that we've acquired, right? We did $90 million plus this year, up from 65 for the year, right? For the first 9 months, we'll do over $112 million this year. Proudly survived and we're just going bigger. Next year is gonna be bigger. It's gonna be 120 to 140, and that's assuming that live does not come back in full. If it comes back, it'll be a lot bigger than that.
So Dermot, I had the pleasure to get, so let me just back it up for a second. You guys had an event here in Vegas, a rooftop event, right? Top of the Nobu Tower, which was absolutely phenomenal view. Awesome event, top notch all the way. Here's the thing. So Rob, and I want to make this clear to everybody, because I talk to a lot of CEOs. Rob has called me on Sunday. We have talked on the phone at 10 o'clock at night. We have talked to the phone at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is one of the hardest working guys I know. I mean, and then when you guys came to Vegas, I had the opportunity to meet Dermot, and you guys had meetings across town, but you had this event, and you guys were rocking it till Dermot's producing, chasing people around.
You got to go deeper than that, Tim. Dermot literally had to be bodyguard and blocker to block why I'm convincing Nelly, and Trey Songz to perform together, because they're trying to close down the event, right? And I said to Nelly, I had a little trade secret on him where I convinced him he had no choice but to get on stage with Trey Songz. And they rocked Vegas from the roof of the Hard Rock, okay? That whole event cost us less than $30,000, okay? It was one of the most beautifully produced, elegant events. And we collaborated with two superstars, right? Because they're friends and fans and shareholders, in fact, of LiveOne. They got on stage together because literally Dermot was literally holding off two of them. Another guy was holding off two of them. And then when the two of them got on stage and they're performing together, right, everyone goes, all right, there's no choice. You got to let this go.
Listen, so I talked to Dermot. We get some time to chat. And Dermot, you told me something that just resonated with me, man. You came over from Ireland, right? $750 in your pocket. And I don't know, at the end of that night, how much did you have left?
$50 left, maybe.
And where were you spending it?
I don't know. There's plenty of good Irish pubs in New York when I first came over. But that happened. That's a real story. These dudes said like, every year it goes down how much money, but that's about right. It was a backpack. And can I just say, it's probably the thing that connects me and Rob. We're not just partners in this business, we're friends and we fight for each other. But, when you do that type of move and you get off your ass and you go to a different country and you never go back, just builds things about you. You see the world differently. And I saw a kindred spirit in Rob, and I'm here for one reason, Rob. And he's a fighter. He doesn't lose. And he'll give you everything till the final second of the game. And I think he knows I'm the same. The two of us are the same. So that's the spirit. And what you saw that night, Tim, was you saw two guys, and it's not just us, there's a whole team, but we'll do everything. We're not precious. Like, I'll pick up the dry cleaning. We'll sweep the floors up. And that's the companies that win, really. You can't always predict what's going to come at you, but we'll never leave an ounce on the field, as you saw that night.
Yeah, Dermot and I had to almost fight, right, at the after party. We almost had a fight, Bryce Hall and Austin McGroom, as Austin was trying to convince him it was our fault. We almost had to go in the ring in the middle of the club. We're here for longevity. We're here for the big win. I truly believe I put myself under enormous pressure, right, by bringing Dermot in, coming off a $4.5 billion sale, right? By putting my board together, who have created over $100 billion worth of media and technology companies. And when my company, Digital Turbine, which again survived by an inch in 2008, we had to fight through, right, is now at $6 billion, somewhere in that range. It's been as high as $9 billion. I always said that my next company has to be bigger than the last. And anyone that's watched my career, I went through this with Majesco. I went through it with Jack Friedman. I went through it with THQ. We've always gotten them to $1 billion valuation, right? It just takes time. And I think this is the biggest opportunity we've been involved in for multiple reasons, including that we have 5 TAMs within the same company. Audio, right? We all know music, right? Spotify's at 50 billion, Sirius is at 40 billion, iHeart's at 12 billion. right? We're one of 12 left on earth, right? The others are a trillion, YouTube, Google, and Amazon, right? So we're one of 10 or 12 in the world. We're top 10 in music. In podcasting, right, we just passed Warner and Viacom to become number 10 in podcasting. And I promise you we'll be top 10 this year. We just announced a huge initiative, a new project off of Cobra Kai. Another great, 7-figure, podcast added to the lineup. I think that's our 46th new podcast since we acquired the company, right? Same thing on pay-per-view. We're going to spin out our pay-per-view business. You'll see a lot coming on that. The IPO is coming, right? And obviously we wouldn't do that if it wasn't a big valuation. It wasn't hugely accretive to the company and our shareholders, right? And the same thing on merch. We haven't yet unloaded on merch because Live just opening. But imagine us owning our own festivals and owning our merchandise. Imagine us creating a festival line. Imagine every single one of our talent or podcasters, all 350 of them, having the opportunity to not only do merchandise with them, but to do NFTs with them. And then last but not least, our gamification. It's
funny because you guys made the announcement. I got to tell you, so one thing I love about you, Rob, is the companies that I am involved with, I make introductions. I like to make introductions at a very high level, right? And even though you didn't go with the company that I had introduced you guys to, it was nice to know that you guys were on the same wavelength. I mean, you're thinking along the same lines as I was with the gamification, right? Your partnership with SLGG, what is it? Super League Gaming, right? That you just announced. You've announced a whole boatload of partnerships recently, right? And acquisitions, all geared towards metaverse, NFTs, all forward-looking, future-looking plans, right?
So we just announced a big initiative in gamification. And the reason that we announced that initiative with that company, that specific company, Tim, is that gentleman who you'll meet, who's a large shareholder as well, just sold his last 2 trading platforms for $375 million. And I just loved that we could gamify, right? Like I did when I started i1.com. I put the first $1 million into i1.com. We sold to Barry Diller for $900 million, just under $900 million, right? Giving away prizes, money, prizes every day. What does it do? All we're doing is we're extending the life of the consumer of how much time they spend on our platform and on our partners' platforms, right? Which will increase all of our revenues, subscription, membership, sponsorship, right? Pay-per-view, NFTs, gifting, and tipping. And the next thing you're going to see is we're going for the jugular. We want to be the first public company and the first media company to launch their own token, right? Why do we want to do that? It's because our members, and I don't know if everyone read the press release today, but we announced 170,000 members a few months ago. We just announced
699. I saw it.
Guy. So, 699,000 members. If you start converting 8% of those, right, into long-term members, right, you start giving those members, membership has awards, right? Music is the easiest award in the world. Backstage, green room, discounts on tickets. Come to the event. Come to a private screening, right? Come visit Monster X. Come visit your favorite artist. And then also enjoy the relationship that we have with our partners. Win a Tesla car, right? So we're going to take all those pieces together, and all we're really doing is we're taking the platform and we're expanding the usage of it, the social use of it, to keep those consumers engaged, excited, and ignite longer on the platform to drive more revenues.
Okay. All right, listen, I know we're going to get close to wrapping up here. I'm going to run out of time. So live stream, 2,900 artists, 188 million live stream views. Let's see, pay-per-view broadcast. I listened to the Needham event that you guys did. I made a bunch of notes, and I'll put that in my, when I send this video out, I'll put those notes in. But there is, in my mind, a disconnect between what's happening with LiveOne and what's going on with the other media companies that are out there in the same realm, right? So I mean, this is the chart, right? And it's the reason why I went back to 2007 was because I was looking to see or 2019, I was looking to see where the price was. And the price of the stock was up around $7. And you had several analysts that had put $6 and $7 and $9 targets on the stock. And that was prior to you doing the 8 acquisitions that you've done. And that was when you were reporting $9 million in revenues for the quarter. Here we are, and we fast forward. You're about to double test this all-time low at around 72 cents. This is a double. And what's really frustrating about this is a slow bleed. This is, for some reason, it looks to me like a very controlled takedown. It's not, it's like almost somebody's got a little, I don't know, but playing games, but you're coming up to a critical level. I own it from higher. I know for a fact that you have been very active in the open market, correct?
Yeah. So let me help you a little with that, Tim. Right. Couple of swings at the bat. Right. Number one is in March of this year, we traded to 7 on about 70 million shares. Right. That's A. Number two is we did a convertible debt piece, convertible at $4.50 a share. Right. 3 months later. Right. We subsequently converted $10 million of royalties with Universal Music at $4.18. Right. Okay. So I'm a buyer of the stock. I've been an active buyer of the stock. Board members of mine have been active stock. And I just announced today, I reiterated a 2 million share buyback. Right. I don't put out buybacks unless I plan to do it. Right. So we've had a PPP loan out there that, that every other ones have gone away except one little tiny one. We're just waiting for the final on that. That has now happened. Right. The minute our window opens, right, we're going to do what is right for the shareholders. We're going to do what's right to protect our shareholders, and we'll be in the market. Right. Number two is we hired JP Morgan. Now that sounds silly, right? Sounds silly. JP Morgan doesn't step in unless there's $1 billion deal. We have 5 verticals that each could be $1 billion to $10 billion on their own. Audio, live streaming, pay-per-view, podcasting, merchandise, right? And now you got the gamification, maybe the 6th. But right now we are in that unique position that we have to explore all options, and we do what's right as a fiduciary, right? When I1 came along, I didn't want to sell it, right? But when the bid came in, it was so much higher than the last rounds of financing, you had no choice. And at $900 million, it made sense. We're going to do what's right for shareholders. We're angry.
You just did a convertible a couple of weeks ago at 260 or something, or 210. Didn't you just do
I converted when I bought when LiveOne bought React Entertainment in Chicago, which we bought in February, right? Obviously wasn't my smartest move in life. If I knew COVID was coming in 3 weeks later, right? So I lost that whole live events business for 2 years, right? So I just converted the partner who sold us that asset. We converted their $2 million of debt at $2. Their $1 million of debt at $2.10.
Okay.
And the reason I did that is twofold. One is it's $1 billion fund. He's a wicked smart guy, as well as he's a potential great partner for us to expand that live business, in that they bought all of the assets out of Lifestyle out of the bankruptcy, which React was one of those. So great partner and shareholder to add to our list. And, I was thrilled about doing it at 210, but when the stock's at 80 cents, you don't have a lot of leverage.
So you also announced, you had an announcement, which I thought was interesting. You're foregoing your salary until at least, was it June or July? I can't remember, but you're taking stock. And I'm just going to bring this up. So, and the Needham thing, I could have swore I heard you say you're working on your 9th acquisition and your most accretive acquisition. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, I've been a history, right, of my companies being buy and build. We're growing fast internally. We're growing fast externally, right? We now have all of our verticals set, right? Another acquisition, which would be the most accretive, right, to the company, balance sheet, income statement, bottom line, right, is imminent. right? We're fighting through. It would be easy if our stock hadn't dropped so far, but we'll get it done. Right. We got podcast one done at 70% of revenues when the stock was at 2, right? When COVID first started. We got CPS done in the same fashion. We basically bought it for $4.5 million. We bought $20 million of revenues, right? So we bought Slacker Radio for mostly their payables, right? And brought in some great partners in Columbia, Mission, and Rowe, right? So we're gonna get it done regardless of our stock price. We're gonna get in the trenches and fight harder. Dermot and I are mad. Right. I do my best work when I'm mad. I hate to say it. Right. Someone said to me, my trainer said yesterday in the gym, he goes, I haven't seen you work out this hard. And you always work out hard. We happen to be fun. You're like killing it. He goes, I wouldn't get in the ring with you today. This is hard. It's hard, but we're big boys. We've been doing this a long time. I've been in the public markets for 37 years. I've watched this movie. You go through your ups and downs. It's a public venture capital company. You go through these levels. Now that we're over 100 million, we know where the stop sign is. We know where the goal line is, right? We know how to take it to profitability. Every division other than our original programming is extremely profitable right now, right? It's now time to turn all that. We announced Volkswagen last week. We announced Hyundai recently.
That was another big number, 100 blue chip sponsors, right? Isn't that what I read?
Yeah, so we went from one sponsor 2 years ago to over 120 sponsors this year and growing. And we're seeing telltale signs. Tim, we land an 8-figure deal. We call Alex Bro, who's been MVP of the company, right? Our head of sales, right? We call him 7-figure Alex, right? I feel it coming. He's an inch away and he deserves it from becoming 8-figure Alex. If he becomes 8-figure Alex, that's huge bottom line numbers.
When you talked about what happened after COVID, we also bought a podcast company, which is another way that we were really on the money or where the world was going. But, there was a handful of advertisers. The deal size has increased, 10x in some cases. That's the health of a business, right? We launched the deal today with Volkswagen. So everybody can go check it out on LiveXLive. It's an 8-part music series that has some amazing new artists. It's a renewal. You always know in terms of how healthy a business is by how they're starting to renew clients, because that means the clients and the agencies are happy. But the tail of the tape is there. And just to add to what Rob said, look, we are mad, and we fight even harder when we're mad. The tail of the tape is in the work. The work is some of the best I've seen, and the innovation is some of the best I've seen, and all the metrics are there, right? You keep doubling revenues, you keep increasing deal sizes. You're launching deals with car companies that are 7-figure deals, and they want more. And we've also, just another thing, we increased our original owned IP by orders of magnitude during COVID. And that's when we're going to start reaping. And we're going to do very little in the future where we don't own the IP. So the build and the vision and the journey for what Rob has set out to do when I first met him, a lot of it's here. And the great thing about great visions is it goes even more than you think, right? I think the two of us even surprised ourselves some days when we were standing in the middle of an NFL stadium in Miami, looking up at every screen and everything saying LiveXLive. And we just looked at each other and we're like, holy shit, we're going to throw a boxing match. Now, if you'd have told me that we would have done that the first time I met Rob, I'm like, I don't know about that one, but we did. And a couple months later, we stood on a stage in Chicago looking at the buildings, and we own our own festival, and we just stood there, and it was a surreal moment for me. I'm like, holy shit. And at the same time, we had an international pay-per-view with Monster X going on. So I don't know anybody in the world that's done that. And I know that that's the sort of stuff that makes companies and makes empires. And that's the stuff we pay attention to. But I'm very thankful to your support, Tim. You've been with us, and we appreciate our investors, and we'll deliver for you. And I also thank my partner Rob for being one of the best fighters I've ever met in my life.
Thanks, man. Right back at you. And the last thing I would say to you, Tim, is this stock has a history of drifting down on little volume and then exploding on big volume. So, this could turn very quickly, and stay tuned. A lot of exciting stuff. Let's make sure we do another one of these, soon, because that gamification side, that metaverse, right, is all world, right? We did the first ever VRs. We'll own that world soon.
Listen, the reason why I wanted to do this, and I think the timing is perfect. whether that holds or doesn't hold, you know, if it doesn't hold, if it creates a problem technically, if it pierces it and then winds up holding it, you know, I can tell you this, I am adding to my position at these levels. I'm watching CNBC 2 weeks ago, and where are they telling people to put their money? They're telling them to put them in Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Tesla. I got news for you. Take a look at those charts. They are damn near straight up. Okay. Is Apple going to go, is it going to double or triple or quadruple in the next 6 to 12? Highly unlikely. These are mega cap, multi-billion-dollar companies. Well, is it possible for LVO to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple in the next 6 to 12? I believe that it is. Now, I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just saying do your own due diligence. I would say you're closer to the bottom than you are to the top, like Microsoft and Apple and Nvidia. You're closer to the bottom on this, and it's, to me, a much more exciting story, right? So that's what this is all about. It's about getting the story out, and you two guys, right? I mean, look, I know it's the whole team. I saw your team working, but it's leadership and vision that ultimately wins out every time. You can have a great product, you can have a great service. If you have shitty leadership, the odds are stacked against you. That's my belief, right? You got good leadership, I think you come out on top. It may take time, but if you're a fighter, eventually you're going to come out on top, right?
We have a no lose philosophy. So we're in the trenches. We're excited to share all the great developments that are coming with the company. Get that X acquisition done, right, and take this thing back, you know, to many multiples where it is today with a lot of hard work. So thank you for having us, Tim. And,
thanks, Rob.
And I look forward to your call at 4:30 in the morning tomorrow.
Okay, man.
Thanks, Tim.
Dermot, thank you.
Good
Thanks,
to see you,
guys.
man.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey there, stock junkies. Thank you so much for tuning in once again with Alpha Wolf Trading and CEO interview. I got a double today, a CEO and the president of LiveOne, Dermot McCormack and Rob Ellin. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. The stock symbol is LVO. If you did enjoy today's interview, how about giving us a like or a share? And while you're at it, why don't you give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. I and Alpha Wolf Trading wish you the very best of success.